us alone. Leave us alone. We are now joined by Monte Poole, NBC Sports Bay Area, a legend in the Bay. Monte, thank you so much for joining us.
A legend. Hey, man, I'm just a brother with a job.
I hear you. Aren't we all? Aren't we all? Monte, let's get right into it. You know, we were looking at the Warriors and what they've done since January going on that run. What would you say is the biggest difference or the biggest reason they've gone on the nice run that they did, which allowed them to stay in 10th place?
Well, most of it's defense. If you follow the Warriors over the course of this season, you'll see that when their defense was top 5, top 10 defense, they were a really good team. And when they weren't, they were dreadful. They're awful. So they fixed their defense in a couple of ways. One, Draymond Green came back. And when Draymond came back after his last suspension, the 12-game suspension, he fit right in. And Draymond is a great defender, first of all. But second of all, as he helps all the other guys be better. He makes them better because he sort of demands it. You know, keep up with my defense, so you got to be better. And when he and Trayce Jackson-Davis were on the floor together, the defensive rating has been, for the most part, under 100 between those two guys when they're on the court together. And the difference is that, unlike Kevon Looney, who's a nice player and does a lot of good things, Trayce is an actual rim protector, and Draymond can kind of freelance a little bit, which is what Draymond does best. I mean, he can guard on ball, off ball. He can play the passing lanes. He can take chances, smart chances, because he's got a rim protector behind him. Now, I'm not saying that Trayce is Andrew Bogut, but this is kind of like what Draymond had with Bogut early in his career, is that a guy that allowed him to sort of be a free safety on the defensive end, and that really makes a difference. And so those two guys have really good chemistry together on the court. Wiggins has been pretty good most of the season on defense, but he's gotten better. His offense was bad early. But defensively, he's picked it up too. So that's the biggest issue, is that they've got the defense in a situation where when they're playing really good defense, which they did over the last 6 to 8 weeks, with a couple of exceptions, they were a team that you don't really want to see in the playoffs.
Monte, I'm curious. I mean, yeah, you talk a lot about Trayce Jackson-Davis there, but, you know, the rookie pairing really has been huge for Golden State this year, with not just Trayce Jackson, but also with Brenden Podziemski. That's been the big difference, I think, since the last time these two teams met. What has those two rookies brought specifically to this Warrior team?
Well, Brenden brings high energy. I mean, the guy plays with his hair on fire, and it's funny, you know, he's 6'4". He's a guard from a small college in mid-major Santa Clara. Yet, he'll have games where he gets 9, 10 rebounds. And it's strange to watch, but he'll go in among the trees, 6'8", 6'9", 6'10 guys, and come in with the rebound. He has a nose for the ball. He's a smart player. When the Warriors drafted him, I thought, okay, he'll spend some time in G League, bounce back and forth. And then I saw him play. I thought, well, you know, maybe they can fit him in around the seams with this team. And before long, Brenden was getting rotation minutes. And then he became a starter. And it's all because his teammates began to trust him. You know how hard it is for a rookie to be trusted by the veterans? Yeah. He got that pretty quickly. And they realized he's a smart player, does good things for them, things they need. And so he's not starting now, but they know they can rely on him to do quality work when he is on the court. So I think if you're a Warriors fan, you appreciate that this guy was taken. It was kind of a surprise, but it's been a pleasant surprise for the Warriors. Now, Trayce, on the other hand, is a guy who, I mean, I've been advocating for Trayce since November or December. I could see that Draymond and Looney weren't working together as they used to, and the league had changed. The Warriors have won a championship in 2022 with Draymond and Looney on the court. It's almost impossible these days to play winning basketball in the NBA with two non-shooters on the court. And I think the Warriors realized that at some point. And at that point, they said, okay, we got to try something different. Trayce is not a shooter per se, but Trayce is a vertical spacer, which Looney is not. So he can lob through it on one end. He's a shot blocker on the other end. He's had some night. I mean, he blocked Wemby twice, you know, so he's a guy, he's 6'9", but he plays big, and he's one of those guys that is a 4-year college player, so he came in ready to play, ready to contribute. And so you look at those two guys, and it's rare that a team relies on two rookies so much, at least a good team. But the Warriors, who I think are a good team, not a great team, rely on these guys because these guys do pretty good work.
Talking to Monte Poole, NBC Sports Bay Area, covers the Warriors. Monty, I saw yesterday you were on the flagship, and you said if they're one and done, that's a colossal failure. They got to get through at least 2 games, but if they don't, it's okay, guys. It's time to start turning the page. I was curious your thoughts. Does it do not to belittle this game, because I think it's going to be rocking in Golden 1, and we'll talk about that as well. But does it do anything for the Warriors if they win tonight and then lose on Friday? Don't they have to get to the playoffs?
Yes. Yes. I mean, they didn't bring Chris Paul in his $30 million salary to go out in the play-in tournament. That's not what this was about. And to me, that's the big issue there, is that they brought Chris Paul in for a specific reason. We want to make sure he's healthy for the playoffs, because we know that he has stability in the playoffs then. They didn't have it last year. Jordan Poole was a mess, and we all understand why. And so we thought, okay, let's give the ball to Chris Paul when he steps off the floor and make sure that the offense runs pretty smoothly. And if they don't make it to the playoffs at all, then the $30 million gamble didn't work. I mean, Chris has been good. He's been fine. But you didn't bring him here for the regular season. You didn't bring him here to go one and done in the playoff play-in tournament. You didn't bring him in to go at least not at least a real tight series. If you get Chris Paul and you get to the first round with this team and you go at least 7 games, then maybe, okay, you can soften that a little bit. It's okay, it kind of sort of worked a little bit. But when you look at Chris and what he brings, he was good for the team. But they did not bring him here to win 46 games and then go home in the middle of April. That's not what he's here. So, yeah, if it doesn't work, it fails.
Monty, I'm curious. This is kind of a 2-part question. I mean, we spoke with a Phoenix writer last week who kind of said that a big part of why Phoenix is kind of starting to play well is a lot because, those big 3 hadn't played a lot of games consistently. They'd finally strung together, I think, 20 straight games, and that's why you see Phoenix kind of turning a corner. 2-parter, would you say that's kind of what's happening with Golden State with the inconsistency of Draymond in and out of the lineup? Clay was in and out of the starting lineup. Chris Paul missed some time. Would you say that it really is just a matter of them finding some consistent playing time together? And then the second part of that is specifically with Clay. He's had an up and down season, but has really turned it around. I think he started his last 10 games. What specifically has changed with Clay as well here recently?
Yeah, I think the chemistry together part for this team is a little bit overstated in terms of them playing together. I mean, the Suns were a mess because they didn't know who was supposed to take over at a given time. They were taking turns, and that's not how it works. At least not if you want to make a long playoff run. The Warriors, Steph, Clay, Draymond have been together for a million years, so that part of it wasn't that difficult. They did have to find a spot for Clay, and once they did that, you saw him kind of ease in. Clay has had he's had to come to grips with who he is now. That he is no longer the Klay Thompson of 5, 6, 7 years ago. He's no longer the Klay Thompson who was an all-star perennial. He's no longer the Klay Thompson who's going to take over games on a fairly regular basis over the course of the season. He can still do that, but at this point of his career, he's spottier, he's streakier, and his defense is not what it used to be. You used to be able to put Clay on-ball defense on the teams. You put him on Dame, you put him on Chris Paul when he was with the Clippers, you put him on really great point guard type players, and his quickness is not there anymore. But you had Achilles in one leg and you had the ACL in the other leg. We understand why. So they had to find a place to use him properly. And now with Wiggins on the court, Trace on the court, Clay's defense can be sort of hidden, and he can get his offense, which I thought when they went to the 6-man Clay role, that's ideal. You don't expect your 6-man usually to come in and play great defense. Your sixth man is supposed to come in and get buckets. Clay can do that. But now he's sort of in that role, but he's in a starting lineup. They don't ask him to guard the tough defenders, perimeter guys anymore. They look to hide him a little bit. And so that's been a big difference. And so he understands who he is now. At first, he was resisting that. He didn't really understand that he wasn't the guy he used to be. He was frustrated, and it showed in his play. And now he's at ease. He's like, okay, you know what? I can still help. I just can't be the guy I used to be.
Monte Poole, before we let you go, NBC Sports Bay Area, gotta answer this one. Do you consider this a rivalry?
A little bit. I mean, because I say that because last year, when you make it to the playoffs, that's to me is necessary for a rivalry. And last year you got that. So yeah, I think it's not a great rivalry because it's been the one playoff series, and it's a great geographical sort of situation. But in terms of a real rivalry where there's hatred, you don't see that. I mean, the Warriors had that with the Clippers back in the day when Chris Paul was a Clipper. Mm-hmm. There was hatred there. Those games were fiery. There were technical fouls everywhere. But I think now you're seeing a team that, two teams at least, that have respect for each other. The Kings have definitely gained the Warriors' respect. I'm not sure that was always there.
Monty, thank you so much. We will talk to you soon. Can't say good luck, but appreciate the work you do.
All right, fellas. Take care. We'll see you later.
That was Monte Poole, NBC Sports Bay Area, covers the Warriors. When we return, we want your input, 916.